Today on the Bass Channel, we're taking a quick look at the Seismic bass suite from Modern Metal Songwriter. Let's go. So the other day, Modern Metal Songwriter reached out to me. They were, at the time, going to release this new Seismic bass suite. As of today, it's already out. You can go check it out for yourself. But they asked if I would take a look at it, share my feedback, and let you guys know what it's capable of and what I think about it. So let's go on over to the screen recording of the laptop, and let's take a look. So we're at modernmetalsongwriter.com. Obviously, you know, this is more for plugins and things for your DAW. So Seismic is the new release. As you can see here, it's $79. So already right off the bat, much more attractive of a price than, say, the Neural DSP or the SVT suite, and probably more flexible than those two. So obviously this is website speak, all the tools you need for a mix-ready bass tone without any of the hassle of complex mixing chains. All right, they got a little intro video. Let's just take a look at the video in case you haven't heard of this before. That's pretty cool. We're going to talk about this in a second. Got a lot to talk about here. This was cool too. Okay, so that is the overview of the software. Like I said, I got to take it for a quick pre-release spin, and I put together 4 audio samples. I think we've seen 1 or 2 up to this point, depending on how I edit it. Here's one more. Okay, so digging back in, I'm going to direct you back over to the website just so we can look at some of these features. It's a little easier for me to show you some of the features this way than pulling up the DAW and doing things in real time. So the first thing is the bass amp itself, the amplifier part of it, is comprised of 3 different bass amps that you can mix and match at your desired crossover frequency. So you see here, you got the greenish turquoise band, the yellow-orange band, and the pink-purple band, depending on how colorblind you may or may not be. Off the top of my head, I forget what 3 amps those are emulating, so let me just find that out real quick. Okay, so going back to the email, the bass amp heads are, amp 1 is the Eden World Tour. Let me back up for, just in case I don't want to get myself in trouble here. Amp 1 is based off of the Eden World Tour. Amp 2 is based off of the Ampeg SVT, and Amp 3 is based off of the Dark Glass Microtubes 900. So you can take any of those 3 amps on these 3 bands you see down here, the turquoise, orange, and purple, and you can have just the low end of the SVT with just the mid-range of the Eden and just the top range of the Dark Glass, and you can do any combination of any of those 3 amplifiers. There's also a DI option too, which I used on one of the samples. We'll get into that in just a little bit. So right off the bat, that's already a really cool feature that the other plugins that I mentioned don't offer. Also, on the face of the amp, you got your low, mid, and high EQ with contour buttons for each. Input sensitivity. The quake, I can't figure out exactly what the quake is doing, but on some of the samples, it just, as the name would suggest, it just like rumbled the low end and it really gave it a quake kind of sound. So I thought that was a really cool feature. Obviously not usable all the time, but if it is usable in your particular case, it's pretty rad. And finishing off the face of the amplifier portion, you've got a graphic EQ, you've got the enhance, and your output level. And the other thing I didn't mention with the amps, the 3 amps, you can choose which crossover point you want, and there's also a compression built in for each of them, so you can compress the low end separately than you compress the top end or the mid-range or what have you. All right, moving on to the effects section. As you can see here, we've got a fuzz, an overdrive, a compressor, and an ultra distortion. Now, it probably isn't difficult to guess what each of these pedals are based off of. Same paint scheme job as the bass big muff, same paint and knob layout as the bass driver, hyperluminal looks like, and B7K Ultra. Now, here is the thing that I found the most interesting about this particular section of this plugin. Generally speaking, if I had the real units between the SansAmp bass driver and the B7K Ultra, for me personally, every time I'm picking the B7K because it gets this reputation for only being like a gnarly, heavy distortion that sounds like bees in a can and is too clangy and bright and gross and has no low end. That's all false. That's just coming from people who either A, want to hate the product, or B, don't know how to use it. I've spent considerable time with the B7K. I've really gotten comfortable with how the EQ works, how to dial in the drive that's pleasant and suits just about any mix. So for me personally, between the 2 real pedals, I'm picking B7K just about every time. Coming into this program, this plugin, this suite, it's the opposite. Everything that I dislike about the real SansAmp bass driver is not really present in this plugin version. It has the characteristics that I like about the real deal B7K. So I found, in my personal opinion, this overdrive pedal that they have here sounded the best of the 3 for my ear. Out the gate, just kind of with all knobs at noon, this ultra distortion is a little bit more harsh than the real deal B7K and the kind of plug-in suite, Dark Glass's own plug-in of the B7K. It's a little more harsh up top. It can be kind of riled in and wrangled in and tamed and words and synonyms. You can get it to where it sounds more pleasant and more like the real deal. It's just sometimes the knob positions aren't going to match real life in those kind of sounds. But I managed to get great sounds out of this ultra distortion, but of the 2, I really like that SansAmpy overdrive. And then moving on to the fuzz, I have the issue with this fuzz that I have with most fuzzes is that they are fun to play with. They sound really cool on their own. But in a mix, I struggle to make fuzz work on bass in a mix. So for this example, this is the fuzz. I tried to hit every one of the pedals. So this is the fuzz pedal. I used the dry blend. That was the only way I was going to get it to fit in with this mix. So here comes the fuzz. Down a little bit, we've got our modulation, which appears to be chorus. I tried every which way I could to change it. It seems like chorus is the only one. I clicked on where it says chorus right here. I double clicked on it, I clicked and dragged, and it stayed chorus, so I think it might just be chorus. But either way, good sounding chorus. I didn't really have a whole lot of opportunity. I did use it in one track of these 4 that I did, but cool. Obviously, pretty easy to see what's going on here. This is the newer version of what, you know, based on the MXR 10 band. I liked the 10 band. I found that it's either what my ear wants to hear, it's the way I play, it's the basses that I have, or the mixes that I'm using. I've always found that like right about 1K, 1.5, maybe 2 is always the sweet spot for where I find that I'm gonna peak out. So obviously we got a 1K band, a 2K band. Sometimes 500 is the one that you wanna boost. Sometimes it's the one you wanna kill. Either way, it's always nice to have 500 there. All the frequencies that are gonna matter in a mix to help shape and cut through and find those holes that the guitars are not filling and the kick drum and snare is not filling to peak out, you're gonna find it either here or in the amp portion graphic EQ. Not to mention, you got EQ on both of these overdrive pedals and the 3 band. Like, there's more EQ options than you're probably gonna need. And last but not least, we got the cab section. So, website speak, 5 unique mic options. We got a Beta 52, MD 421, a ribbon, a U47, and a subkick. Subkick is rad, we'll get into that in a second. 2 cabinet options, we got a 115 and a 410, and you can blend both sides and you can access variable microphone positions. So, on the, X-axis, you can go from the edge of the speaker to the edge of the speaker, which is really cool to have that flexibility. Obviously, the Y-axis doesn't matter because you only need one. So to be able to blend either 2 410s, 2 115s, one of each with that array of different mics in either position, you can pretty much get any cabinet sound that you realistically could want. But in addition to the X-axis, we have what? The Z-axis? Forward and backwards and close and far. That's in there too. You can pan either one to either can. And the blend. I found that I either liked it at 50-50 or kind of favoring the 410. That's just me, but you can do all of that. Okay, so that's just the quick rundown that I gave you. Like I said, I gave you a couple samples. We looked at the website together, so you have a better idea of it. For me to give my honest opinion on it, for $80, I think that's a steal. There were a couple features that it just took me a minute to figure out. It's not necessarily good or bad, but when you're used to, like I'm used to the Neural plugin and I'm used to the Ampeg SVT plugin, I know how those work, and those don't necessarily work any better than this. It's just different. So the ways in which you move certain switches, like on that B7K, the grunt and whatever attack switch, there it is. It's just, you got to click it and drag it kind of thing instead of just clicking up or down. It's just those little tweaks. Overall, I found the tones on here to, in some cases, in that SansAmp bass driver, to kind of be better than the real deal. I think in terms of if you're looking for an all-around, I just need to get a cool bass sound for hard rock or metal, and you don't really care about, I used a B7K on that recording like I do, then I think this is perfect. But if you're really after like an authentic B7K, for example, experience, then I think obviously your best bet is going to go with the Neural B7K plugin, because if you're going to apples to apples the plugin to the real hardware, you can't tell. You close your eyes, you can't tell between the plugin and the real deal. This B7K sounds a little bit different than the real deal. Like I said, you can kind of manipulate it in ways that you wouldn't think to get it into familiar, pleasant territory. But right off the bat, it kind of reminds me, those Bradley Hall videos of like what Rage Against the Machine sounds like to people who don't like Rage Against the Machine. Sometimes there are certain settings in this B7K that like what the B7K sounds like to people who hate the B7K. Anyway, all in all, the takeaway is that for $20 less than most of the contemporaries, like I've mentioned Neural and Ampeg, there's more out there, of course. Those are just the 2 I used. For about $20 less, you get basically all those tones for the most part and more. Like you get that Eden amp, you get the crossover function, which you don't get with the other 2. So I'd say there's a lot more flexibility here than some other ones, and if you're not too hung up on the authentic Ampeg SVT stamp of approval by Ampeg, if you don't care about any of that stuff, you just want a good tone that's based off the SVT and sounds pretty much like the SVT, just without Dino's seal of approval, then I think this is the way to go. I think this is pretty rad. So overall, big thanks to Modern Metal Songwriter for reaching out and letting me check this out. Like I said, as of this video's release, this software was released yesterday, so it came out Friday, May 24th. This video is being released Saturday, May 25th. It kind of doesn't matter. It's available now, so if you click the link down in the description below, you can go check it out for yourself. I think I saw on here correctly there is a free trial for 7 days, so you can try it out for free and see if you like it or not. Overall, it gets a thumbs up from me. Let me know what you thought down below in the comments. Again, the studio's a little messy. I'm kind of in the middle of a couple different things, and I just took a short break to let you know about this new software. So, thank you very much for watching. Like I said, let me know. Like, dislike, subscribe, unsubscribe. Whatever it is that you want to do, I appreciate it all. Actually, that's not always true, but you gotta say what you gotta say. So, I think that's all I have to say. So I'm gonna leave you with another tone, and until next time, be safe, and I'll see you later.